What is going on, streamers? My name is Nick, and today we are talking about live streaming tips for beginners. So if you are new to live streaming, you definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to all of the information that is being shared in this stream today. I've got, I think, 15 or 16 different tips for you that are targeted directly at you as somebody that is new to live streaming. The very first one, we'll make this one a bonus, is if you get a new mic arm and you don't test it before the stream, you might end up hitting it while you're streaming. So I now know that I need to move this puppy after the stream is finished today. But we are going to be talking about things that are going to help you just be a better streamer. We're going to be talking about things that will help you actually get more views in your live streams overall, and just some general best practices that you need to know as a new live streamer. So just as a heads up, I do want to let you know that if you do have questions about anything it is that I talk about in the stream today, make sure that you just hold on to those questions, because I will be doing a Q&A once we get to the end of the stream today. And in addition to that, if you are on Twitter or any other social media platforms, definitely share this out. If you could, get the word out, let other content creators that are streaming know that we're live so that we can get the party rolling in here today. So the very first tip that I have for you when it comes to live streaming and to, as a new content creator, somebody that is just starting to live stream, is to make sure that you restart everything before you live stream. Now, the reason that this is important is because let's say that you set up your live stream a few hours earlier. Sometimes little tiny things will happen to where if you end up working on something else while you're waiting for your stream or something like that, maybe it'll do something in terms of, it needs access to like your graphics card or something weird like that. And because of that, it'll cause like your camera to start, not the actual camera, but just, the software that's running the camera. If you're using like a Cam Link or A10 Mini or something like that, and in some cases, even normal webcam software, it can cause it to start glitching and things like that while you're streaming. And you definitely don't want that, because of course that makes you look unprofessional. And just so you know, that sort of thing does happen, but it does still make you look unprofessional when those types of things do happen. So you want to make sure that you restart everything before your stream. That means your camera, your computer, if you have like an interface, for example, like in my case, I'm using the Rodecaster Pro. If you use any type of hardware, everything, just go ahead and restart everything. Give yourself enough time to go ahead and get Streamyard back open, get your other browser windows open. If you have any supportive, browser windows that you have for notes and things like that, just make sure that you just restart everything so that right before you stream, you are coming in from scratch. That's the idea, right? So that everything's fresh and you know that everything is going to work. And with that, on the back end of restarting everything, make sure you test everything before you stream as well. So one thing that I like to do is inside of Streamyard is, since they have a record option feature, what you can do is you can actually go in and you can have your scheduled stream, but then you can create a new stream. And instead of actually going into to the actual live stream to go live, you actually just hit record only, and then you can just test your stream to make sure that your audio is coming through, to make sure that your camera feed and everything is looking the way that you want it to, and so on, through that particular preview. So that's a great way to test before you go live. The next tip that I have for you is to commit to a schedule. When it comes to YouTube specifically, but really any live stream on any platform, if you are streaming to Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, anywhere it is that you're streaming to, it's really important to make sure that you are streaming on a schedule. And the reason for that is because if you're streaming on a schedule, people know over time that, hey, they stream at this point in time. So for example, we have Albie-tastic in here in the chat right now. If Albie-tastic started live streaming every Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern time, then over time, his audience and the people that came into the live streams, they would start to be able to count on going and hanging out with Albie-tastic at 7 a.m. Eastern. So when you create that consistent schedule and you stick to it, commit to it, and you stick to it, then even though if you're just getting started, you might not have a lot of people in it at first, it gives you the opportunity to create that consistency so that people will know, hey, if I'm not doing anything at this time, or if I want to learn something at this time, or if I want to be entertained at this time, or inspired, or educated, or whatever type of content it is that you make, they know that they can count on coming to your particular YouTube channel or your Facebook page or wherever it is that you're streaming to, and they know that they can count on you for a good show. So because of that, make sure that you are definitely streaming on a schedule. Now, in addition to that, You also, because I mentioned show, you also want to make sure that you turn your stream into a show if possible. So, of course, and we're going to use Magic Flying Potato for this example here. So with Magic Flying Potato, if he started streaming on a schedule and his actual live stream is, just Magic Flying Potato live, that's okay. But if he could turn it into more of like a show, right? To where, he's got like a similar intro that he does. He's got a similar format that he takes people through. He, ends it in a similar way, things like that, to where, it's branded like a show in terms of visually, it's structured like a show in terms of how he brings people through it and that consistency, just like, committing to that schedule, for the regular live streams. That show, the reason that you want to do this is that show also creates consistency. So then you are you're live streaming on a regular basis. And since you're live streaming on a regular basis, then people know they can count on you. And then since you've turned your stream into a show, people know what they can expect every time that they show up. They know how you're going to start it. And then they know, like, okay, the starting part's over. Now we're getting into it. And then, as you're closing the stream down, they'll get familiar with those parts of the stream as well. But basically what you're doing is you're creating that consistency on the show side of things for the sake of comfort for returning viewers, so they know what to expect, even though, you can throw curveballs at them sometimes. But basically, you just do that for the sake of the consistency so that they know what to expect when they come into your live streams. Now, in addition to that, if you are just getting started with all this stuff, I also recommend that you schedule your streams in advance. So if you don't have a large audience that you can tap into, like in my case, I can share in my community feed, I can share this out on Twitter, things like that. But if you are just getting started, if you don't have hardly anybody showing up to your streams, I recommend that you schedule them, quite some time ahead. If you are streaming, let's say 1 time per week, go ahead and stream or go ahead and schedule it after your first stream is complete, so that over the course of the week, people get to they get to see that, thumbnail, and they get to know that you are going to be streaming, so then they can hit the reminder so that they can get notified when you actually go live. So because of that, you just want to make sure that you're building out that schedule so that people can, 1, see it, and 2, every single week when you do that, when you're done with your live stream, you schedule another one, then people get to start to recognize that consistency as well, which is another thing. And as part of that scheduling, another thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're also spreading awareness about your streams on a regular basis. So for example, anytime I stream, as I'm shutting the stream down, I'll typically say that I stream every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And the reason for that, sometimes I'll say it at the beginning too, but the reason that I try to get it in there somewhere is because I want people to know that if they were the first or if that was their first time coming through my live stream, that they can come and check it out again, when they have the time or whatever, at 9 a.m. Eastern. So that's the idea. So doing those things will really help you in terms of the consistency side of things and in terms of scheduling it so that people can go ahead and click that reminder. Now, another thing with this as well, when you are scheduling to YouTube, one thing that's really important to make sure that you do, because there's a new feature out on YouTube, and that feature is going to let you add a trailer to your live stream. So here's the deal. If you are scheduling your live stream out in advance, right, and you're like, hey, I'm going to schedule this thing out a week ahead of time, then instead of just having your thumbnail and your title for what's going to be going on in that stream, wouldn't it be fantastic if the people that actually clicked on that to see like what's going on or to hit the reminder, whatever the thing is, they actually saw you telling them exactly what it is that they can expect from your live streams? Wouldn't that be great? So with the trailer feature on YouTube, they actually have that option. And I have a video right here on the Streamyard channel that takes you step by step how to set that up as a Streamyard user. So make sure that you check out that video, but more importantly, make sure that you are using that trailer option. And the reason for that is because, there's one thing when you're just putting a thumbnail and a title, but when you add that trailer option, then they're getting that piece of you as well. So a way to think about this is that when you have the thumbnail and title, if somebody that's never been introduced to you before, the commitment there is going to be a little bit low unless your title is really off the charts and your thumbnail is really off the charts in terms of something that they would really be interested in. However, if they click right? And they click into your thumbnail and title and just kind of like, oh, let's kind of see what this is about. And then they have a video of you saying, hey, this is exactly what we're going to be talking about in our stream. This is the type of show that we do. This is the type of things that, that we cover in the stream, or this is the type of games we play if you're a gamer, or this is the type of advice we give if you, give any type of advice with your content. But the idea is to just have that trailer, let people know what it is that you are going to be doing. So I really recommend that you do that as well. So TVTTV, something about nothing says, nice feature. I did not know that. Yeah, so they added that about 2 months ago, I believe, maybe 3 now. I know it's been a while, but basically with that particular feature, it's really cool. Really cool. Just being able to, click that button. So as part of your upload flow or part of your scheduling flow, basically you would schedule it in Streamyard, and then you would go into the YouTube side, and then there you would click into it, and then you would be able to click on the customization option over on the left. And then you just click a little, it says add trailer. You click on that, and then you pick the trailer that you uploaded to your channel. Now, quick tips, just because you didn't know that, because you didn't know that that feature was available. A quick tip for you is go ahead and upload your trailer, because you have to make the trailer and upload it to YouTube anyway. But go ahead and upload your trailer, but make sure that when you upload it as unlisted. When you upload it as unlisted, then people are still going to be able to see it when they come into your live stream, to see that actual preview. They'll still be able to see it there, but it won't be public on your channel. So it won't pollute your channel with something that's not of real value to the people that come in and that watch your content. So, because of that, make sure that you use the feature, but also make sure that you are unlisting it when you upload it as well. Another thing as well is when you are, and a lot of content creators make this mistake, especially YouTube content creators. But basically, when you are just getting started, a lot of people with their video content and with their live streaming content, a lot of content creators will just share their stuff everywhere. They don't care where it is. They'll just share it on like their personal Facebook page. They'll share it in all these like YouTube related groups and all these like, hey, come watch my stream groups and things like that. You do not want to take that approach. And the reason for that, especially for YouTube. Now, Facebook isn't my jam. LinkedIn isn't my jam. My jam is YouTube. So when it comes to YouTube, the way the whole thing works is that YouTube is looking for the audience of people that like to watch content like yours. And then when people actually come and they start watching your content, if they respond to that content positively, then that helps YouTube identify the right people for your content. And then therefore, they will look for other users on the platform that are interacting with content in a similar way to the people that interacted with yours. So because of that, when you are sharing in like your personal Facebook group, for example, you start, or not your Facebook group, but your Facebook page, you start working against yourself there when it comes to YouTube. And the reason for that is because there's a really good chance that like your family, for example, right? Family members, sure, they'll subscribe to your channel because they just want to help you out, right? So they're like, hey, I'm going to subscribe, give them one of those, extra numbers. Maybe I'll like, a couple of videos or whatever. But in reality, if they're not really your target audience, then what's going to happen is YouTube, because they're giving you some of that interaction, especially when you're, getting started, because they're trying to support you. They're trying to help. But based on how things work with YouTube, what ends up happening is your aunt ends up subscribing to your YouTube channel, and she gives a little bit of interaction on that first, video or stream. But then the next time you do it, YouTube might present her your thumbnail and your title. And because of that, and because she's not really into the content, there's a really good chance that she's probably not going to click on it. She's probably not even going to notice it. And on like her homepage, for example, or being suggested next to another video. But basically, with your aunt, when they show that to her and all the other family members that aren't going to watch it, then what ends up happening is that ends up hurting your click-through rate. And then in addition to that, if they do click on your stuff and they come in and they start watching your stuff, that's great. But if they don't actually watch it for a fair amount of time, because what happens in a lot of those cases is they'll watch a little bit of the video and then they'll go give you a comment, just to show you that they're, giving you support or whatever, give you a thumbs up, leave you a little comment, hey, nice job, Billy, thanks, Aunt. But anyway, the idea is to just make sure that you are sharing it in the right places. So for example, if you have cooking content, then in that case, if you're live streaming cooking content or you're making videos about it, sharing in a cooking, group is more appropriate than sharing on your Facebook page. If you are doing something about, like we have Zach Talks Tech in here with his new channel here, scrolling up for it. Give me 1 second here. But basically, he's in here as Zach Talks Tech. But basically with him, since he does tech content, then in his case, sharing it around like tech enthusiasts is a great fit compared to sharing it on a homepage, for his family to come in and support. So that's the idea, right? You just want to make sure that you are getting your content in front of the right people, because the better that you can share your content, the easier it's going to be for YouTube to know who the right fit is to show your content to, so that they can come in and participate for strangers, right? So that's the idea. Next up is stop using thumbnail templates. And when it comes to thumbnail templates, here's what I mean, is there's pretty, there's branded, and then there's effective, right? So in some cases, the templates can work out, but in a majority of cases, or at least the cases that I've had, personal experience with, most of them don't. And I don't know why, in terms of, like when people see it, if they, don't, interact with it or whatever. But the thing is a lot of people will prioritize branding over effectiveness. And actually, just a little bit ago, I actually hopped on a call with somebody and we were talking about this, because they had, all branded, thumbnails on what they were doing. And the idea is the branding's great, right? And, having all the right colors and all that stuff, that's fantastic too. But if all of those things, if you're just committed to this template, like I'm using this template because this is my brand and I had somebody design this and it looks fantastic. If you're committed to that, but then you find out that it's not effective because you're looking in your click-through rate information in your YouTube analytics, then you are committing to something that isn't effective. And when you commit to something that isn't effective, then you're going to end up being one of those channels that, a year down the road, you're like, man, why is this stuff working out for me? And the reason is because you've committed to something without first trying to figure out if it actually, or not even trying, but looking in your analytics to see how well people actually respond to those choices that you make. So before you commit to any templates or any hard choices with what it is that you're doing with your thumbnails, make sure that you are looking at your click-through rate information in your YouTube analytics, that you're going to your traffic sources for that, and you're making sure that you're getting clicks from the right places. And what I mean by that is inside of your YouTube analytics, you can go into advanced mode for each individual piece of content that you put out. Now, once you're in advanced mode, all you have to do is you go into traffic sources, which is one of the navigation options. And then once you're in traffic sources, you're going to see like your channel page, you're going to see browse features, which is the home page in your subscription feed. You're going to see suggested videos, you're going to see search, and a handful of other things. The ones you want to focus on are search, browse, and suggested. And the reason for those is because those are where a majority of the traffic on YouTube is coming from. So you want to make sure that when you are putting your thumbnails together, that you are just looking at that information to make sure that you're not committing to something that isn't effective. Okay. Now, in addition to that, and just a heads up, I'm going to be answering questions here at the end of this. So I just want to remind anybody, if you have any questions, make sure you write them down so we can get to those here in just a bit. But the next thing that I want to talk to you about is that production matters. So a lot of people, like when you get started, just starting is important, right? Because there's a lot that you have to learn in terms of the skill set side of things. But, like a lot of people, they will stream on like a phone or something, which is perfectly fine, streaming on your phone, but they won't think about, how does my lighting look? Have I actually locked my settings into my phone? What does everything sound like? What does it look like behind me? Like what's, like they're not putting that additional thought into their production. Like what you stream from doesn't really matter, but you just want to make sure that you are being mindful of the actual production, because it does matter. So for example, when you are putting your scene together, right? You want to make sure that you're considering, what does my lighting look like? What does the whole scene look like behind me? What does my audio sound like? Is there anything that I can do for free with stuff laying around the house or for a few bucks on Amazon to level up what it is that I'm doing? And the reason that this is important is because if somebody comes into your live stream or your video content, if you make videos, if somebody comes into your content, right, and your audio sucks, right, like your video looks great, but your audio sucks, then guess what's going to happen? They're probably going to leave. So because of that, you want to make sure that you are just spending a little bit of extra time, fine tuning your audio, make sure that you're not having, too much reflections bouncing around the room in terms of the noise. In addition to that, you see a lot of live streamers using microphones like this. And the reason for that is because it really isolates your voice. So as an example, if I just move this out of the way just a little bit, you can see right here, if I turn it the other direction, even though it's still close to me, like it's hardly picking up my voice, I'm assuming, just based on actually, let me tilt it away how this microphone works, you can see the difference when I, push it away versus when I bring it back into my voice. So that's what these types of things are for. But at the end of the day, you can do it just with your phone and with the microphone on your phone, but you want to make sure that everything else around you is quiet. And if you make sure that everything else around you is quiet and, you have enough stuff in the room, curtains, things like that, that can kind of keep the noise from bouncing around all over the place, then you can stream perfectly fine from your phone because you've went ahead and made sure that, hey, we've got some curtains up, we've got some stuff to kind of help block some of the noise bouncing around the room, and it's in a quiet environment. We've turned off the air conditioners, things like that, so that there's not a lot of extra noise just kind of going into the microphone on your phone, as an example. So get started with what you have. However, just take that moment to be mindful about, okay, how does this look? What's the framing like? Like, for example, and I've mentioned this on a Streamyard stream before in a few of my live streams. Let me switch it back to my brand here real quick. But I even have this on here. I have this loaded into Streamyard as part of my branding options, and this is the rule of thirds, right? And the reason for this, see, I got to scoot over here just a tad. But the reason for this is just to make sure that things are lined up properly. Like today, for example, if you watch my stuff on a regular basis, if you are somebody that, has watched my content here on the Streamyard channel, or if you watch my content on my main channel, you probably notice already that this whole thing is different. I've spent the whole day just, sitting here and just kind of moving the cameras around, adjusting the lighting, and, just kind of moving stuff around. And I should have spent more time on this because I've hit this like 3 times, probably going to get rid of it. But like I've spent, a large part of the day just dialing things in and experimenting and like not going live, but like recording into StreamYard and directly to the computer as well, just so I can look at it and really examine the footage to see what it looks like. And it's still a work in progress. So take all of that with a thing here, because I'm still in the process of putting this together. Like I literally, like right over here, the stuff you can't see, it's a disaster. There's like wires and cables and everything all over the place, and like a chair over there. Like it's insane. But the idea though is I didn't stream with you being able to see all that stuff, right? I put this together and I moved things away while I'm, rebuilding everything back here. And I moved all of the things out of the way, out of frame, for the sake of making sure that everything is clean, everything looks good. And I even went through the hassle on the thing over here, which it's still off just a tad. But for this particular light over here, I even went down there and I put like a little piece of cardboard underneath it in order to kind of tilt it over just a little bit. But it looks like I needed to do that a little bit better. But anyway, the idea is just to be mindful about, about your scene, about the setup, about the lighting, about your sound, about your framing, so that you can make sure that the quality of the content that you're putting out there is good. Because if somebody comes into your stream and it's quality, then that distraction is gone, because then they're just seeing a piece of quality content, just like they would watch on TV or Netflix or, in high quality, content. And they're not distracted by, hey, this audio sucks, or like, wow, what's all that, stuff in the background that's, just all messy, or, like whatever the thing is. So because of that, make sure that you are, just being mindful. Like you don't have to, obsess over it, but just make sure that you're being mindful about your actual, setup and your overall production, because it does matter. So next thing I want to bring to your attention as a new content creator is that you want to make sure that you are thinking of the replay. And I make sure that anytime I'm talking about live streaming, either here or on my channel, I make sure that I mention this. And the reason for that is because a lot of live streamers will stream and then like, that's it. They're like, hey, okay, that's good. Now my live stream is living on YouTube, but why isn't it getting, much views after the stream? Well, the reason for that is because a lot of content creators don't think about the actual replay value. So just as a heads up, your live stream has value while you're live, but then it also has value as a piece of content that's going to live on YouTube as a video on demand that people are going to be able to watch for an indefinite period of time until, they decide to change something with YouTube or whatever ends up happening. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you are thinking about, okay, if somebody is going to come into this particular piece of content on the replay, right, this live stream on the replay, then what did I say in the beginning of this live stream to help that person know what this is about? If I used a countdown timer, did I go back into YouTube's editor And because you can edit this stuff on YouTube, you can go and you can cut things out. So did I go back on YouTube and cut off that countdown timer that I used so that if somebody clicks on my live stream replay after my stream is gone 2 months from now, when they click on my live stream replay, they don't see like a 2-minute timer, or a 10-minute timer that they have to wait through. So, because of that, you want to make sure that you are cutting off those things, or you're just skipping them completely. Skip them completely, and then as soon as you go live, because a really cool thing with Streamyard is they have that little countdown timer, right? Like, hey, it's time to go live. And then as soon as you hit that live button, like you're going, right? Like you don't have to wait around for anything. Like you hit that live button and you can count on it going live. So because of that, as soon as you hit that live button, just take a breath just to make sure that, everything goes through fine and all that. Just take a breath and then go for it. And when I say go for it, what I mean is make sure that you're thinking of that replay and that you're hooking the viewers that would be coming in on the replay. So, for example, when this first started, I said, hey, what's going on, streamers? Today we're going to be talking about live streaming tips for beginners, blah, 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 and then a bunch of stuff after that. So the reason that I did that is because for the replay, when somebody comes in after this is live, which is where most of the viewers are going to come from this piece of content, but when people come in after this, after the live is complete, then they're going to see right out of the gate, okay, this is Nick saying hey to me, and then after that, this is exactly what it is that's going to be happening in this stream, right? So then they're informed and they have that reason to watch and continue watching the stream if they want the information. So in addition to that, Zach Talks Tech, one thing that I want to add here as well, Zach Talks Tech said that he adds chapters to all of his live streams. He said he gets lots of plays, but those chapters show in search and Google Plus, Google Plus, look at me. Google Plus add relevant SEO and metadata. Yeah, so that's a great practice if you have time to do that, or if you can have somebody do that for you. That's a fantastic practice to make sure that you're doing to add the chapters to your stream so that people can jump around if they want to. But the thing that I just want to make sure that I'm putting emphasis on is make sure that you are thinking about that replay. And while you're thinking about that replay, other things that you can do as well. If you have in your title, hey, this is the thing that we're streaming about, and then you have live, go in and post optimize your stream. So what I mean by that is go in, take out that little live. If you want to update the thumbnail so it's a little bit more relevant to the replay instead of the actual live experience, then you have the option to do that. And then in addition to that, you can also, if you wanted to, you can update the title, you can update the description, you can update the tags if you want to, you can add captions to it. You can even add in-screen elements. So if somebody makes it to the end of your stream, they can click on it. You can go a level higher than that. And if you go in and you notice, hey, people are watching my stream on the replay, then you can add info cards. If you notice, like, hey, people usually make it about like 10 minutes into my 20-minute live or my 20-minute replay. So because of that, I'm going to put a little card right around like the 9.5-minute mark, trying to get people to jump from that particular piece of content into more of my content, a playlist that would be relevant to the stream. But you can do that, throughout your live stream. And in addition to that, because in most cases, live streams are over 8 minutes. So because of that, you can even go in if you are in the YouTube Partner Program, and you can add ad spots too as part of your post optimization process. So in addition to that, if you want to, then you can also use that as an opportunity to create more ad revenue for yourself as well. So, just making sure that you're keeping that replay in mind, it can help you get more views. It can help you get more subscribers because people will come in and enjoy the content, and it can help you make more money as well if you post optimize the content. Now, next thing that you want to think about, and that was actually my next thing, was if you're leaving your stream public, post optimize them. So we're just going to go past them because I just discussed that. But you also want to make sure that if you are live streaming and you are mixing that with video content on your YouTube channel, I recommend that you also create a custom uploads playlist. So at this moment in time, if you have a piece of video content that you uploaded yesterday, and then you have a live stream that you uploaded today, or that you did earlier today, then in that situation, what you're going to see in your uploads playlist that's at the very top of your channel page is you're going to see that piece of video content, and then you're going to see that live stream, and then you're going to see, that pattern going across your uploads playlist. So because of that, you want to make a custom uploads playlist so that the content that is focused on at the very top of your YouTube channel page is all video content. And the reason that I recommend that you do that if you're mixing them is because in most cases, your video content is like the best of the best content that you have. In your live streams, it's still awesome, but for the actual experience of the viewers, you want to make sure that anybody that hits your channel page, that they're getting like the best stuff that you have, because, you know, that could be a new viewer that's just looking to see what else that you have. And because of that, it would be, in most cases, it makes more sense to drive them into video content versus live stream content if you do both. But if you do only do live streams, which is perfectly fine. If you only do live streams on your channel, then in that case, you don't have to worry about that, because then it doesn't matter. But the next thing that you want to make sure that you are doing as well is practicing your presentation. If you're new to all of this stuff, there is a learning curve that comes with it. And there's just a comfort level that comes with this stuff, like after you practice it for a while. And you don't have to necessarily, go live to practice. One thing that I recommend to people when it comes to getting comfortable on camera in general, and this is going to sound crazy, I always put this disclaimer out there because it does sound a little bit crazy, but one thing that I recommend to people is to talk to yourself out loud. And the reason for that is because right now, you guys are watching this stream, right? But I'm in this room by myself. Right? I'm in this room by myself. I'm talking a little bit louder than I normally would talk, and I'm just looking at this camera, and I'm getting no feedback from the camera. So I'll glance over to the chat, glance over to my notes of what it is that we're talking about. But the thing is, like, ultimately, like, I'm just sitting here by myself, just like you'll be when you are live streaming, most likely. So because of that, you want to make sure that you are just practicing externalizing your thoughts. So if normally if you are, comfortable with, just being in that room by yourself and just talking out loud or talking into a lens, then you don't have to worry about this. But if you are somebody like I was, to where I had to go through a process to overcome that discomfort when I was on camera and, just to kind of find my voice, so to speak. If you are somebody like that, then I really recommend that you just practice when you're in your car by yourself, when you're at home alone, just talk out loud about the things that you talk about during your live streams. So that, now I know really quick, I know if you're a gamer, then it's a little bit different because you're kind of in that moment with the game. But for everybody else, when you are just talking out loud like that, then what you do is you get yourself used to communicating in that quiet environment when you're by yourself. So you're going to feel crazy, if you're standing in the shower and you're talking your normal voice, maybe you're amplifying it just a little bit to kind of make up for what the camera takes away in terms of the energy. But, you're kind of walking around the house and you're, talking out loud and you're thinking to yourself like, hey, I think I'm crazy. But in reality, you're practicing so that you can be a better live streamer, because the better you get at taking all this stuff that's rattling around in your head and just getting it out into the camera, the easier it's going to be for you to live stream, and the better your live stream is going to be if you go through the process of working on that presentation. And as a little quick side tip, this one isn't in my notes, but as a little quick side tip, if you are also somebody that has problems with ums and ahs and a bunch of other filler words, first, just know that it is normal, right? Like, that is a normal thing. However, if you do have problematic things, like, hey, I just keep dragging these ums out, like every other word I'm saying or like or whatever the thing is, in that case, one thing that I recommend if you have problematic things like that is that you take a Post-it note or just a piece of paper, whatever, and write that word on it and put it right underneath your camera. And the reason that you do that is because when you're live streaming and you're just in the moment, you're just communicating, everything is flowing. And if you see that, your brain is going to be looking for that word, right? So basically how that works is your brain is looking for that word, and then that helps you be able to identify when it's coming up so that you can suppress it before you actually say it, or you can pause, when it comes to that particular word. But, everybody will throw those in, but it's just a really good practice if you do find words that you are commonly, in a problematic way, constantly adding to your stuff. You want to make sure that you are putting notes around, specifically underneath your lens, so that you can constantly be reminded to not do those things. Another thing as well is if you are just getting started, if you're a beginner, I recommend that if you're a gamer, it's a little bit different because, it can take time to get through a specific part of a game. But if you're doing any other type of content, it's really important to not think that you have to stream for 30 minutes or an hour. Typically, people will stream for, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and that's just common. So when people are first getting started, they'll see, okay, people I watch, they stream for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour. So I'm going to stream for about that amount of time because I think that's what you're supposed to do when you live stream, right? So just keep in mind that you don't have to do that. All of these rules, in terms of the things that you see like that, they can be bent. And the reason that you would want to bend that rule in this particular case is because, let's say that when your streams are complete, you go in and you look at your replay. Or you just look and see how people interacted with you when you were live, and you find that people just didn't hang out for that long during your live stream. Well, in that particular case, if you're streaming for an hour and people aren't really hanging out for more than 10 minutes, then it doesn't really make sense to stream for that long of a time unless there's a lot of rotation in terms of a lot of people coming in, a lot of people going out, and then you can consistently keep the numbers up. But if you notice, like, hey, we start here, and then, 10 minutes in, 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, 45 minutes in, and you just notice it just keeps getting lower and lower, then in that situation, it's a good call to say, you know what, let me try streaming for 30 minutes, or let me try streaming for 20 minutes, or let's see if I can get all this stuff out in 15 minutes, make a great tight piece of content that's going to be fun while we're live, but it's also going to be great for the replay as well, right? So that's the approach that you want to take. Next is to make sure that when you are streaming, if possible, with the type of content that you make, that you are collaborating with other content creators. Collaborations is one of the best ways to grow a YouTube channel, because you are not only, sending viewers back and forth as long as your audiences match in terms of, you talk about similar topics or show similar things with your content to the person that you're going to be collaborating with. But if you do match up in terms of the audience that way, the collaborations are great because you get to introduce yourself to all of these other audiences. And when you are doing that, you get to introduce them to your audience as well. But that's just one way to get in front of, 10 extra people here, 100 extra people here, 50 extra people here. And when it comes to this type of stuff, when it comes to growing your influence on the internet, and it comes to earning an income from this, or it comes to, doing this professionally, every single person counts. So when you are collaborating with other content creators that make similar content, the win there is that, that extra, 50 people, 5 of those people might end up coming to be long-term viewers that are constantly interacting with your stuff. If you sell things from your YouTube channel, one of those viewers might end up buying, thousands of dollars worth of stuff from you over the course of the next few years. If you do that across, 20 different YouTube channels or Facebook pages, or, other content creators that you collaborate with, then that gives you lots of opportunities to get in front of a lot more people, even if they have a really, really small audience. As long as they have some people interacting with what it is that they're doing, then the thing there is that gives you the opportunity to kind of grow together, right? Because it's like, hey, you're collaborating here. And then as you're doing that, this is what I did in the past as well. But basically, as you're doing that, another cool thing that happens is you start to be like, hey, that was a super fun collaboration. I did another collaboration, with this other creator, and that was super fun too. You guys should hook up. Right. And then you become the person that is, you're collaborating with a bunch of people, and then you start being that person in the middle that's also connecting others as well. And then there's all kinds of advantages that come from that also. So, collaboration is really, really powerful when it comes to growing your influence on the internet, or on social media just in general. Dean Reynolds, what's up, man? Hope you're doing awesome. So let's see here. Next up is, if possible, if you are trying to grow your influence on the internet and you're starting from scratch, I really recommend that you multicast. And the reason I recommend you multicast is because, like with a tool like Streamyard, for example, they collect all of your comments into one box, so you don't have to be on all the different platforms, have everything open and all that. They make it easy to actually just click and stream to Twitch and LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. And with that, it helps you be able to get in front of, like I was saying before, every person counts. So it helps you be able to get in front of, a few people over here, a few people over there, a few people over here as you're just getting started. And that gives you that opportunity to tap into your audience wherever it is that they happen to be. And over time, some people will cross over. So let's say, for example, you're somebody that's just trying to grow a YouTube channel and nothing else. If you start out and you're multicasting, well, one of the things with that is that you are able to, over time, there will be, let's say that you have, 50 people interact with you over on Facebook. There will be some of those people over time that will end up coming over to your YouTube channel, subscribing there, and involving and interacting with you over there as well. So make sure that you're doing those types of things with the collaborations and the multicasting. Another thing that's really important, if you are just getting started, is to dig into your analytics so that you know what it is that's going on with your channel. So if you're a YouTube content creator, if you're live streaming, if you're putting out video content, it is imperative these days that you get familiar with at least a handful of analytics. Those are your click-through rate and that is your click-through rate across the different traffic sources. So you don't want to just look at the upside down triangle or the performance funnel. You don't want to look at that and get your click-through rate from that because it's misleading. You want to actually click into the advanced mode and then go, I actually mentioned this earlier, click into advanced mode and then go to traffic sources and then look at your click-through rate there for the different traffic sources to see where you're winning and where you are losing. Because you might find out that, hey, in search, I'm doing great because people are looking for my content, but on browse and suggested, I'm not doing that great. And what that's usually a reflection of is if you find that, hey, in search, I'm nailing it, but these other, like on home pages and suggested videos, I'm not, then you can actually interpret that information as I need to work on being more compelling with my topic, my title, and my thumbnail, because you're great at grabbing someone's attention when they're looking for your content. But if you really want to grow, if you really want to grow your live stream audience, you really want to grow your video audience on YouTube, it's important to make sure that you are also being able to grab your viewers' attention or potential viewers' attention directly off of a homepage when they log into YouTube, directly out of the mobile feed, when they're just sitting there scrolling, when they're not looking for your content, when YouTube is showing them your content next to a bunch of other things that they're interested in, right? So you want to make sure that you are looking in your analytics so you can look for those types of things so that you can make sure that you are looking for, I'll call them fail points, because essentially that's what they are. So just make sure that you are looking in there and looking for the fail points. Dan C. Bearded, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. Always loving compliments on the beard. Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure. Glad that you are enjoying the stream today. So now we're going to go into Q&A mode. So for the live streaming tips for beginners, those are that was the nice handful of tips that I have just for you if you are getting started with live streaming on YouTube or really just on the internet in general. But if you have questions about any of the things that I was just talking about or any of the things that I mentioned here during the stream today, go ahead and drop them in the chat right now, and then we will go ahead and just start going through these questions, because I'm here on the Streamyard channel right now to help you get better at what it is that you're doing and share that information with you. So if you have a question, I would love to, help you get the answer to that question. So let's see here. So Vegas Confessions Podcast says, Nick, I just interviewed a YouTuber with over 231 subscribers, and it's the least viewed video. But I'm still going to keep the interviews going and just keep hearing your voice, Nick, about keep collaborations. Yeah, just keep going, keep collaborating. And here's the thing too, is just because somebody has a lot of followers doesn't mean that all of those followers, or that a majority of those followers, even if they share it in their community feed, doesn't mean that everybody's going to see it. So even though they might have, 231,000 subscribers on their channel, if they share it out in their community feed, Twitter, and things like that, it might only be, a few hundred or a few thousand people that see it, not, that entire, not their entire audience. So, just keep that in mind. But when it does come to that, another thing that you also want to make sure that you're thinking about, you're doing Vegas Confessions. So I'm going to guess that the YouTuber that you interviewed was something about, Vegas and all of that. So if that's the case, then it's perfectly fine. But one of the things that I was going to mention, though, is just make sure that the people that you are interviewing are a great fit for what it is that you are doing as well. So by doing that, then you're going to increase the amount of those people. If it's 100, if it's 1,000, if it's 10,000 or 50,000, whatever it is, you're going to increase the amount of those people that you're able to convert into your audience, because it's such a good audience crossover. So just make sure that you're keeping that in mind. But yeah, keep up the hustle though. Keep up the collaborations, because it's a great way to grow. Okay, question. I've seen some channels do live streams on a different channel than their main channel. Would you recommend having live streams on their own channel for analytic purposes? No. So with that, basically what you put yourself into a situation of is you have to manage two channels, which, when you're first getting started, there's not a lot of activity. It's not a big deal. But once you get the ball rolling, there's like a whole other workload that comes with, just managing your audience and working with sponsors and all that stuff. Like it's a whole other thing. So because of that, I would stream on the main channel. And the reason I would do that is because, one, as long as the content that you are streaming is in alignment with the audience that you're trying to reach, then you're good to go, because your live streams are relevant to the people that you're reaching with your video content as well. So I actually, one of the backbones of my YouTube channel is the live streams. you know, just that consistency and having people, you know, keeping coming back to the channel on a regular basis and all that has done wonders for my YouTube channel. And you'll hear people that will say like, hey, you know, I stopped live streaming because it was hurting my YouTube channel. But in reality, what happened is they were streaming about things that weren't in perfect alignment with their audience, and therefore people didn't respond well to their live streams. That's it. So, so because of that, like I would just keep everything there as long as everything is in alignment with the audience that you're trying to reach. But if you are doing something way outside of what it is that your audience normally comes to you for, then in that case, that's where you might want to consider putting it on another place. Question: what are some good pre-show engagement tricks to get the audience ready to start the show on time? Just asking, or not asking, but just chatting in the chat, you know, just before the stream gets started. That's a good way. Like pre-stream, like before you actually get the ball rolling, that's really the only way that you can interact outside of, unless you have like a Discord or a Slack group for your community, or, you know, Twitter or something like that, where you can interact with them there and just trying to drive people into the stream. But outside of that, if you don't have one of those other platforms that you use, then in that case, just, you know, interacting while you're actually getting the chat going is a great way to do it. Other things that you can do as well is, you know, if you are getting the show going to where you actually hit that live button, after you get your hook out of the way, you can have, you know, a moment of time to where you go through like quick shout outs and things like that. Just make sure that if you do that, if you are leaning on the replay for, you know, long-term views on that piece of content, just make sure that you go in after the fact and you cut that particular shout out part out, because then of course that's not relevant to the people when they're watching on the replay, right? So, so make sure that you're thinking about that. Let's see here. So is anyone else having issues with copyright claims on music, even using music from the audio library, and almost ready to just stop using music in my vids? Okay, so here's the thing when it comes to copyright claims on YouTube. I recommend that you just use services where you can get, you know, the actual license for the things, or that you use a paid service. So my brother D and I, we're actually getting ready to launch a free resource for YouTube content creators. But when it comes to, for music, so you'll be able to use that and you'll be perfectly clear there. But when it comes to the YouTube audio library, one thing that's happening right now, this is a known issue, is that some, we'll just call them shady people, for lack of a better way to say that. But the for those you know, shady people, what they'll do is they'll go through and find free music, and then they'll actually claim that music as their own music, and then they'll start issuing copyright claims so that they can get the ad revenue for anybody using those songs. So that's actually one of the things that's happening with YouTube, and it's something that, you know, they're working on right now, and them and all the music services, like everybody's working on this right now. But it is a known problem right now. It'll be fixed in the future, but right now it is a headache that everybody kind of has to deal with, unfortunately. Thoughts on shadows and live stream setups. I've changed my lights and have some new shadows, and it's driving me crazy. However, I see some top-notch setups with shadows, and I think it looks purposeful. So in terms of shadows, I think shadows are okay as long as it's not too extreme. Like in some cases, you know, like you'll see to where like a light will be hitting somebody so hard that, like, you know, it'll just be a big cast here. Like you can make those adjustments within your camera and all of that. And of course, softening the light will help reduce the shadows. So like a little trick, I'm not going to call it a trick, but I mean, it kind of is when it comes to lighting, like the LED lights, a lot of people are using those for streaming nowadays. Same thing with like the Elgato lights and stuff like that. Unfortunately, they're pretty harsh. The Elgatos, they actually soften those a little bit to where you're just getting the light from a panel, but it still can be pretty harsh and leave hard shadows. So what you want to do is you want to get, I actually have one here. So I'm just going to grab it. I'm just going to show you. You want to incorporate some things like this. So if you have like an LED light like this, right? Or you have just any other type of light that that the shadows are pretty harsh, what happens is you can get these, and with these, it actually creates a light box so that when the light hits it, it actually, just to show you what's going on here, So you can put the light here, and when you get these, they come with, Velcro straps. You can hack these together if you just kind of cut up a softbox, but this is a better way to do it, really. But it comes with straps, so you can strap it to, a bunch of different types of lights and stuff. But the idea is that it softens the light. So you can do this with like multiple layers. So I've got, and I think it's in like my last YouTube video, actually, I showed where before I just started changing stuff today, I went in and I took one of those LED lights. Basically, it was one with barn doors on it. So basically, I put the softbox fabric like right here, because these LED lights don't get that hot. And then with the barn doors on it, I put another layer there. And with every layer that you add, what happens is when it comes to the shadows, what happens is for every layer that you add of the softening, it makes the shadows softer. So like, for example, like right now I'm using this big, humongous dome light right up here. And the reason that I use this particular light is because the surface of this light is really big. The actual source, it's coming out of like a really strong LED, but the surface that I'm getting the light from. So basically it goes, the light shoots out of the actual device, and then it gets softened right there. And then it goes into this, big dome, and then that light gets softened again. And I have a grid on it, but basically that double softening in the space between the first softening point and then the second one, and then the light hits me, like it's really soft by the time it comes over to me, versus if I were to have this up there shining on me, then all of the lines that you see here would be really harsh. Like, I still got some shadows and stuff coming in here, but the lines would be really harsh if I was just using this. So what you want to do is you just want to find a way to soften the light that you have, and that will help you massively reduce the shadows. But shadows are normal. Shadows are normal in life. Shadows are normal in, just production, just in general. So, just keep that in mind also. Just try to control what you can when you can. Let's see here. I asked your brother about this, but I want your opinion. I recently got 5 brands to donate to a holiday giveaway. What should be my next steps with these brands to keep working with them? So if you got, hey, we have 2 bearded people in here, like right next to each other. This is great. So, so basically if you have 5 brands that donated to a holiday giveaway, then in that particular case, I would just, retweet them from time to time. I would definitely mention them in videos from time to time, things like that. So on my desk that's back here, I got a keyboard, editor's keys. They gave me a keyboard, and it was just cool. They just hit me up and they're like, hey, dude, like we don't want anything in return for anything like this, but you've helped us, with our YouTube channel, and we just want to, give you some stuff. So basically they made a custom keyboard. It was a custom Apple keyboard, and they put like my YouTube channel on it and all this stuff. Super cool. But anyway, with that, I was like, this is super cool. Thank you. And through that, I went through the process just because it was a cool thing on their part. So I was like, okay, how can I keep this conversation going? How can I keep this dialogue open? So first thing I did is I mounted a camera to the ceiling so that I could get an overhead shot just to bring some attention to it for a handful of streams. In addition to that, I reached out to them for a fundraiser thing that we did with Owen Video. If you watch any of my content, you've probably seen that. And then in addition to that, I helped bring attention to them during the Cyber Monday thing that I did yesterday. Unfortunately, I had to add them to the doc later, but I still, mentioned them there. I'm mentioning them right now on another YouTube channel. But basically, the idea is to just make sure that you just stay, interacting with them. And I also want to let you know too, like, try to keep things just legit. Like, of course, you want to benefit from that relationship in some way. However, it's also good to not be like, okay, how can I hurry up and get them on board to like do something with me? And the reason I'm saying this is because one of the first sponsors that I got on my YouTube channel was Uscreen. So I did that first video, and it was just a one video that they sponsored. And then after that, we didn't talk for like I think it was like a year, maybe year and a half. And then because we had such a good interaction while we were going through that initial process of, getting that first video together, and they loved the video, they loved the results they got from the video and all that, they ended up hitting me up a year and a half later to make content for their YouTube channel. So that relationship turned into a very lucrative thing very quickly when that started happening. And in addition to that, I still have a great relationship, with the team over there, because of that whole thing as well. So, with them, that's one of those situations to where, that one video somebody could have been like, okay, well, that's over. But because, you know, I did, you know, keep interacting and just kind of kept letting them know that I was there, kind of, you know, with just interacting with their tweets and stuff. Then, you know, later when they needed somebody to make content, then of course, you know, they remembered me because I was, you know, regularly interacting with their stuff. Let's see here as we keep on going. Also, really quick with that too. Also, just think about, you know, anything that you can do. Like, of course, you know, you don't want to just be constantly doing everything, you know, for them for free, unless you just really dig their stuff. But you know, when you are, you know, taking that approach, it is important to, you know, just make sure that you're thinking of it from the perspective of like, this might not ever turn into anything. However, they make awesome stuff. So since they make awesome stuff, I'm going to continue to bring attention to it, you know, from time to time when it's appropriate. And, you know, and I'm just going to keep that door open, right? Another thing that happened to me with Camtasia as well. With Camtasia, basically I made videos about them. Like in my first 5 videos, 2 of them were about I mentioned Camtasia and recommended them there. And then like later on, a few years later, I think it was like 2 or 3 years later, I ended up just doing an interview with them at Video Marketing World. And then after that, it was like another, you know, like 2 years or 3 years, and then now they're a year sponsor for the YouTube channel. So you know, like those things sometimes they can just take time, you know, to happen as well. Is there a reason why I see some creators unlist their live streams after their stream sometime? Is it a way for them to keep having YouTube push their edited content? I'm wondering if there's any value in it. I'm actually experimenting with this right now on my YouTube channel. I've experimented with it in the past, and because this stuff is constantly changing, you have to kind of rerun those tests. So basically, I think I've got maybe 2 or 3 more streams left, and then I'll be able to give you some actual information behind this. But basically, when I did this before, it made 0 impact on anything. But this time I'm doing it. And the reason I'm doing it is because I noticed that I had like 2 different live streams that when I scheduled them and then when I started going live and then after the live, for a little bit after the live and then it rebounded. But after the live, it would actually, my most recent video would take a little bit of a hit. So because of that, I was like, okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to start unlisting some of the streams at least before I publish the next video. So then that way, you know, the thing that is actually getting promoted by YouTube is my freshest content, my best content, and all of that. But in terms of the reason that I'm doing it, it's for that reason, so that I can make sure that YouTube, just like you're talking about here, is showing, you know, the right content to people. But YouTube is still showing live streams that I have on the channel that I didn't unlist from like a long time ago. Like they're still showing those. But in terms of the recency though, YouTube always prioritizes fresh content. So because of that, that's why I'm running that experiment right now on my channel. But if you ask me about that, it's like 2 or 3 live streams, I'd have to double check. But if you ask me about that in like, let's say like a month to be safe, then I'll be able to give you some better information on that. Let's see here. When I promoted the person rather than the topic, the videos didn't really do well. Yeah, that's a big one. So I'm not sure where the 1 and 1. Oh, here it is right here. Says, could it also be that the video promoted the person and not the topic? This is a great point, and I'm so glad that you brought this up because I didn't really think about that when they mentioned it. But basically what they're talking about here is when if you are promoting the person, just to kind of give some context here, and feel free to jump in on this if I'm taking what you're saying out of, you know, context. But basically the idea is that if you are making your stream about that particular person, then you're limiting that audience to only people that might know that person. And the people that YouTube might happen to show your content to at that point in time that they think might be interested in interacting with that content, they might not necessarily know that person. And then if they don't know that person, then that content is pretty much irrelevant. However, if you make it about the topic, then in that particular case, that topic, there's a lot more people that know about the actual topic itself. So when you make it about the topic, then that opens you up to a much broader audience. So instead of being like, hey, this is an interview with this person, this is the thing that we're talking about. And then it just happens to be that you're talking about that thing with that person. So glad you mentioned that. Thank you. Let's see here. How can I apply for Streamyard? All you have to do is go to streamyard.com. There's actually a direct link right now in the description of this live stream. So if you just go to streamyard.com, then you can sign up there. But basically on an iPhone, basically on an iPhone, you can still use it. All you have to do is make sure that you go and you use it in Safari. because if you try to use it in Chrome, it's going to force you over into Safari. You're going to have to like copy the link and go over there. So start the whole process over in Safari. Adding cameras in Streamyard. So with that, all you have to do, there's just a little camera mic thing down here in the bottom. Here, I'll just show you really quick. Let's see here. Let me click on this. Let me click on this. Let me click on my Streamyard window, and then bam. Let me add this to my stream. Bam. Yeah, so basically, let me spread this out here a little bit. So what you want to do, and we're in like this huge tunnel right now, but basically down here in the very bottom, and I'm going to take this off. What you want to do is you want to click on camera and mic, and then right here, you're going to see a drop down. So if you click on this drop down, then it's going to give you the option for whatever camera it is that you want to use. You select that, and then you are good to go. Now, I do recommend that you change this area right here for the camera resolution, change it to full definition 1080p. Of course, the availability for that's going to be dependent on the package that you're using. But if you have a decent internet connection, I would definitely change that to 1080p. So that's how you do. That's how you do those. Let's see here. So I'm looking for the questions here, so I can get these answered for you guys. Let's see here. You've helped me grow my channel to over 2,000 subscribers in the last year. High five and fist bump to you. Nice work. Let's see here. I've noticed lag when using the green screen feature. Is that a setting thing? I'm not sure. I just rely on the actual like scene. I don't use the green screen feature personally, so I'm not sure. However, they do have a Facebook community where you can ask this sort of thing, and then you'll get feedback from a ton of StreamYard users, plus the staff will see it. They'll be able to tell you any technical specifications that you need or anything like that. But if you go to facebook.com and you look for StreamYard community, then that Facebook group will show up. Anybody here, if you're a StreamYard user, I highly recommend that you're in that Facebook group. Because like, for example, when they made the option available for where you could use Stream Deck with StreamYard, I made like a bunch of, dedicated keys, and the only place that you can get those right now is inside of that particular Facebook group. So, so you definitely want to be a part of that group. Let's see here. My 15-year-old daughter has a lifestyle channel with 78,000 followers and wants to explore doing a live stream with her community. Do you have any tips and the best way for her to go about it? Absolutely. So I don't know if you mean in terms of the best way to go about it, like scheduling it, or if you mean the best way to go about it in terms of the tech. If you're talking about scheduling it and, actually getting it out there, if she's got 78,000 subscribers on the channel, people will come into the live stream. So what she wants to make sure that she thinks about is that the thing that she's going to be streaming about is relevant to her audience in some way. So if she has a lifestyle channel, really good chance that the people that are coming to that channel are coming there for her. So if they're coming there for her, then pretty much anything she streams about is probably going to be a win. But one thing that I do want you to keep in mind, though, is if she does her first stream and it doesn't turn out like, like if she's expecting a big turnout, but it doesn't get that big turnout, keep in mind that the topic of the stream matters. The thumbnail matters, just like it does with her video content that she's already used to optimizing. So make sure that she keeps that in mind, and that when she's packaging up the live stream and she's thinking about what she's going to be streaming about, that she's thinking of it just like she's going to be publishing a video. So instead of just going like live stream as the title and then like her in the thumbnail, just tell her, be like, hey, what can you do to make this relevant, to the audience, to where the audience is really going to be excited about this specific topic. And with that as well, I also recommend that you do schedule it just like, a couple of days in advance so that her audience can, go ahead and click that notification so they can be notified when she's live. And if she has the time or the availability, have her go ahead and make a short trailer for it as well so that, she can talk directly with her viewers and let them know exactly what it is that she's going to be doing in the stream and how excited she is to connect with them and all of those types of things. Let's see here. Recently got into live streams, not going to lie. They really do increase audience retention, but sometimes they get difficult to handle. They do. So for that, I recommend, moderators. So, if you get just a few trusted people that will come and participate in your live streams, they can be friends, family members, they can be community members as well. But basically, if you can just get a few trusted people into your live stream to moderate, it can really help you keep things under control. because like there's a lot going on. You have all the stuff that's going on in your brain to where you're trying to get that information out in a clear way while you're talking to the camera. While you're doing that, you're also trying to manage, like you're adding comments to the screen if you're doing that, and all of the other, tech that just goes along with it. So there's definitely a lot involved. So one, the fact that you're doing it's awesome. So high five, fist bump to you for that. But in terms of, them being difficult to handle, if you do find that the problem is other people coming into your streams and being problematic, then in that case, I definitely recommend getting some mods. At least one. Is there a reason why? Okay, we did that one already. So here, what is the time limit to share a video file? I'm not sure what you mean by sharing a video file. Do you mean that after StreamYard records it, sharing it out that way? I think it's unlimited as long as you're paying, like as long as your subscription is still there. But I do know that they have a limit. So like, for example, I think mine is like 50 gigabytes or something like that. And I burn through that really fast because my streams that I do on my channel are really long. I got like, 3 hours, sometimes 4 hour live streams over on my channel. So because of that, I'll burn through that 50 hours, relatively quick. So because of that, as part of my workflow now, before I start my StreamYard stream, I'll actually go in and make sure that I have enough, storage space there that, that I can, that they can record that while I'm live. Let's see here. Yeah, that's the same thing. That's the same thing that I was mentioning. Yeah, wax paper. Yeah, since we're back on that one. I experience audio drift when I try to work with StreamYard's multi-track audio download function. Is there a way to control for this? That's a pretty technical one. I recommend that you join the Facebook group for that one so staff can actually help you with that one. Because, just based on, your computer specs, all of those types of things, I'm not really sure how to do that one. If it was me, I would sit there and I would try different browsers. I would try how I was connecting. I know that people do have that problem sometimes when it comes to using a cam link. So with that, you might also want to look at how you're getting your camera into your computer as well, because that can also cause things to kind of fall off a little bit. Also, check and make sure that the frame rate of your camera matches up with StreamYard as well. So like, for example, this one, because I'm in the process, literally, like as soon as this stream is over, I'm getting back to it. But when it comes to the frame rate, like in this particular stream, like this is currently at 24 frames per second, but my normal setup, I have everything set to 30 frames per second. But this particular camera, I forgot to change it before the stream, but I typically use this one for video. But part of this new setup is actually getting everything optimized so that I can sit here and just make content, regardless if it's live or if it's video, so that everything kind of looks and feels the same. Let's see here. Nick, you change your background depending on what type of stream that you're doing. So right now I'm actually in the process of just changing the whole setup. So one thing because I moved into this place our first night here was New Year's. So when I moved into here, I kind of committed to like, I'm going to set it up this way. And I've been running with that, and it's great for live streaming. However, it's not that great for being productive when it comes to making video content, just because I haven't been like super excited about the setup. So like my preference is this right here, to where I'm sitting at a table, and then, at that table, of course, for video content, there'll be a mic up here instead of this, but basically, sitting at the table to where, you get the whole thing, cutting off there. And then, I can just kind of like lean in here and just, have a conversation like you're sitting across the table from me. That's my preference. But since I've been here, I haven't been able to do that, because if I move over to here, you'll see this behemoth of a monitor that I have behind me. I went and got that. And as soon as I got that, I was like, I love the monitor, but this might have been a mistake, because this whole front shot that I love, I haven't been able to do it. So because of that, I'm rearranging everything for the sake of prioritizing just content, recorded and video, because I've got like over the next, probably over between now and the end of 2022, I have a ton of content that's going to be made for my channel, for the StreamYard channel, for a couple of products that I'm working on, plus, some course material. So I want to make sure that I'm, focusing on some educational stuff here in 2022 also. Do your cameras plug right into the Stream Deck? Does it replace a capture card? No. So the Stream Deck is only a switcher. So basically with a Stream Deck, all this thing does, and I've got this one and the other one, but basically all this thing does is it allows you to press the buttons and then it will switch things on the screen. So like you can set these up in a bunch of different ways. You can have them work, with all kinds of different software as well. You can just add, like shortcuts into here. But with StreamYard specifically, how this works is you assign hotkeys here, and then you can click on each one of those hotkeys and it'll change the scene there. But all this is it's just a switcher. It's not necessarily a thing that you plug your camera into. For that, you definitely need the capture card. So one thing that you can do for the capture card is you do have like the cam links, which I mentioned before, but you also have the ATEM Mini. So if you do decide like, hey, I want a bunch of cameras, or I want to have like, DSLR cameras like this where everything looks nice and crisp and sharp and in focus and all that, then you can use the ATEM Mini. And with the ATEM Mini, you can bring in 4 cameras. If you use the Extreme, you can bring in 8. And you can record. You can record directly in this box too. Let's see here. Yeah, Scrap Pallet Man says 60 frames per second works well with his GoPro action videos, less movement blur. Totally. Is it bad to stream on Twitch one day and YouTube another day? I try to create a schedule on YouTube that viewers know when I go live, and leave Twitch as another way to record and upload VODs. So if you are like, hey, I want to grow an audience over on Twitch and I want to grow an audience on YouTube, then absolutely stream to both. But if you are like, hey, I'm streaming on Twitch so that I can get people over to YouTube, just focus on YouTube. The discovery side of YouTube is years ahead of what they're doing on Twitch. So in terms of how people can find your content on YouTube, basically think of it from this way. On Twitch, like they have to put you on like a homepage or something. Of course, people can search by category, or they can search for something. But on YouTube is actually, like through their algorithms, they're actually showing content to people that they think might be a good fit for that content. There's that. Plus, you have YouTube search that can bring attention to you. Plus, if you're optimizing your videos properly, Google can bring attention to you as well. Yahoo can bring attention to you. All the textual search engines, so video results. Your live streams can pop up there. Your live stream replays can pop up there. Like Zach Talks Tech was talking about earlier, if you add chapters to your live streams after the fact, then your chapters can show up there. So in terms of like being able to bring people in to your YouTube channel, way easier than it is on Twitch. So if you're on Twitch for the sake of bringing people to YouTube, focus that energy on YouTube. All right, so I hope that you learned something today during this live stream. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for the questions that you've asked so far. Thank you for StreamYard for giving me this opportunity to come on here and share the information with you about live streaming tips for beginners. And again, I hope that you learned something today. And if you haven't yet, and if you are new to StreamYard, I really recommend that you give StreamYard a shot. I've been using StreamYard for quite some time now, years now. And the reason that I do is because it's just really easy to use, really easy to bring in guests, really easy to add graphics to the screen. But another little bonus with StreamYard is that since they are hosted in the cloud, when you have problems, like I live out in the boonies here in Thailand. So from time to time, our electric will flicker, our internet will go down or whatever. Since this is being held together on the cloud or being hosted on the cloud, then it holds the stream open, and then I can actually join back in on my phone using like a mobile package instead to keep the stream going until the lights come back on or the internet gets reconnected or whatever the thing is. So there's tons of advantages to using StreamYard, but I highly recommend that you give it a shot. There's a link in the description, or you can just go to StreamYard.com to try StreamYard for yourself. So thank you everybody for hanging out. Have a awesome rest of your week, and I will see you at the last here on the StreamYard channel, the last Tuesday of every month. So I will see you next in December at the last Tuesday of the month there in December. So have an awesome rest of your week, and I will see you next time.